about the hardship. Family, I want you to get this. This is James writing to scattered tribes, a small group of people. It could be larger in certain settings. He's saying you're facing hardship as a church. Financial difficulty, people leaving the church, fights and confusion and grumbling and things like that. And he's calling for the church to learn to persevere, to not quit, to not split, to not give up. Because in view of that, those remaining stay the course. He's saying it's an undeserved, unmerited affliction that's come upon you. In other words, he goes on to say, look at Job as an example when you're going through hardship. Did Job do things to bring about that hardship in his life? He did not. He was described as blameless. And God, and as we see from the passage in Job, is having a conversation with Satan and just allows the affliction to come upon Job for his refining. And I thought as I read that commentary, I believe we need to hear that again, family. Because I don't think it's a stretch to say that this tribe, using James' language, this small church, is indicative of being scattered by hardship, although we're still here, but experiencing division and experiencing inward strife, which James writes about what I'm saying. He writes about it as well. And it's a calling to persevere, to keep going, to stay the course in view of the affliction that has come upon the church. I mentioned to you how this is being shared and was shared at Moody's Founders Week, and Brian Loritz spoke at Moody Founders Week from James chapter 5. He gave a word that, again, to me is in season, in due season for what we're experiencing as a church. He says when those times of persecution comes, and times of difficulty comes, when the times of hardship comes, he was encouraging perseverance. And he used this really cool illustration of how the body of believers should respond in the face of affliction. And he uses what James talks about. We're going to look at it in a little bit. He's like, we need to look not at one another and grumble and complain, but we need to look at the prophets of old. We're going to look at that in just a minute. Look at the prophets and how they persevered. Look at the life of Job and how he persevered. He gave a really cool illustration that fits today about this right view of perseverance, this right view of not giving up. He said, you need to set before you the right people, the right examples, and learn a lesson from them. It's just how James writes, the prophets and Job as an example. And so he gave an example of his son. And I got to make sure I get this right. He and his wife has nicknamed their 14-year-old son. The initials are RP. Yeah, RP is the initials of his son. RP is retirement plan. The reason why is because their 14-year-old son, that boy can play some hoops. I'm just repeating Brian. That boy's like, that boy, he's got it, man. That boy can play some hoops. And it's like, we're going to make sure he stays healthy. And we're going to get him to the right college. And we're going to get his skills honed. And we're going to be praying for whatever NBA team to pick him up so he can live up to his initials of RP, because he's our retirement plan, okay? he speaks about his son the way I talk about you all sometimes if you run into a lot of money. He's like, we're giving him all kind of lessons on tithing and offering, how to get those right tithes, okay? His name is RP. But he says our RP retirement plan does something in his room. He has these pictures of these great basketball players, Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and all that. And he'll just gaze at these great players. He says sometimes the kid will sit there for like an hour just looking at these greats. And then he'll move from that place of gazing and then run out to the court and just play ball. Incredibly inspired by these great basketball players. And Brian Loritz was saying in our language, like, God paints these great prophets of old, this history of these prophets. Job and Isaiah and Jeremiah, they suffered greatly for being men of truth, men and women of truth. And God is saying we need to be looking at them as our example, looking at them as our inspiration, looking at them as our motivation, so that we do not lose heart and quit. That's the proper way of looking back and looking up, is to what has God done with these men and women of old, and how can we draw inspiration so we continue to run the race with perseverance and not quit. So love perseveres. As God brings patience, affliction, trials upon the church, allows affliction and trials to bring about patience, and then patience is this working of making us into these people who don't quit. Very straight language for us, who keep going, running that race, and we're building upon this family. They're waiting for us, they're looking for something from God. And I want to develop that just a little bit. So patience is a willingness to wait for. Waiting leads us to a place. And I don't think you're going to have a difficult time seeing Fellowship Chapel in the Bible, in this point I'm going to make. Patience is willing to wait. Waiting for, which is perseverance, just kind of leads us to a spiritual place with God and what He wants to do for His church. I'm asking you to give me just a little grace as I talk about this spiritual place and put it through the lenses of Scripture. James 5:9 and 5:10. So don't grumble against one another, brothers and sisters, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. Brothers and sisters, as an example of patience in the face of suffering, take the prophets who spoke in the name of the Lord. We kind of looked at that. So here's what I like to try and depict with waiting, which is perseverance, leading us to a spiritual place with the economy of God and His church. The trial comes upon a church. The affliction comes to bring about patience. And it's God leading His people to a place, a spiritual place, regarding His desire for the future of His church. The spiritual place I'm going to call is we come to a crossroad with God. And this is kind of how James is writing to the church. They come to a crossroad and we make decisions. The trial comes into the church, leading the people to this crossroad. At the crossroad, here's what the church does, one or two things. They begin to grumble against one another, or they look to God and His prophets of old and they choose to remain on point. Grumble against one another, or they persevere. So here's this crossroad of the church. Two words describe each choice. One is grumble against, the other is wait for. I'm trying to clearly depict the Word of God for His church, and wondering if this is resonating at all with the history of God and His people. In the nation of Israel, they grumbled against God and His leaders. In the call to persevere here, the people grumble against one another. Now, give me grace again. I'm not saying this is happening now, but that would be Elaine grumbling at Bernadette, and then Bernadette grumbles at Jane, and Jane grumbles against Mark. Mark grumbles against Chiquita, Chiquita grumbles against Elizabeth, and so forth and so on. And I love giving biblical challenges to you, family. So here's what happens at that crossroad. God's brought about trial to build character in the church, to teach them to persevere. And instead of persevering, the grumbling here happens. And here's the result of this grumbling. I call it horizontal grumbling. It's always vertical against God, but James is talking about horizontal grumbling. The horizontal grumbling against one another is ushering in the presence of God in a way you don't want. You guys think I'm making stuff up or just bringing up our church history? Listen to the speakers at Moody Founders Week, how many of them talk about the casual attitude Christians have about grumbling and the effect of grumbling. In Numbers 14, the effect of grumbling is God wipes out an entire generation of Israelites from entering the promised land. Like puts them death, actual death. Here, James says, your grumbling against one another is ushering in a particular visit from God, from Jesus Christ, to address your grumbling. And I'm careful to stay within the confines of Scripture and not go outside of that. And I think of this as, it's a warning, it's a beware, you know. And I think of this, I don't know what that judgment will be. And me, I don't want to know. I don't want to be like, I don't want to choose that way. It's one, family, you know this is our history. It's one or the other. There's a group of people say, let's stay the course. Let's wait for the crop. Let's wait for the harvest. Let's stay the course. Let's keep running the race. And then there's another group that's, no, your fault. No, you. And that choice has consequences. I'm ending the message how both choices have consequences. And that's the way God's like, you have to learn from Israel's history, from the history of Scripture. You have to learn from Fellowship Chapel's history, the negative effect of horizontal grumbling, as well as vertical grumbling. Okay, I'll do open sharing, and then I'm leading to my last point because I want to lead our time in communion in a way that God has given to me as well. Just open sharing on this, my transparency about my temptation to grumble. And why I don't want to do it, family. I don't want to do it. So it was the last week or something like that. I think I was in the gym. And so there was a political channel on, you know, had various channels. And they had President Trump on. And it was just something that like, oh, you know, President Trump now has said this. And I was just about to say, I was just about to grumble against our president, okay? And something just checked my spirit. I'm being honest and straight up said, you better not. You better not grumble against God. Now, I'm going to challenge you with this family. This is grumbling vertically. God and leaders He appoints, or horizontally against one another, and a judgment that comes against it. I had the same temptation against President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, and President Trump. It ain't no Democrat, Republican thing for me. It's my human nature to grumble against God and His ways, and the Lord put me in check this week. And I responded to that check from the Spirit. And I quieted myself and said, God, please forgive me, because I'm grumbling against you, the one who's put our president in office. Please forgive me, God. And I am not boasting about this, family. I hope the Bible substantiates what I'm going to say here. I fear God. I actually fear God. I think if I go against His desire that I don't grumble against His people, I don't grumble against His appointments, I don't grumble against His ways, I think if I shake a fist in His face, something is coming that I don't want. And I'd rather live according to the fear of the Lord and be of a tender spirit and say, God, bless those over me, bless those around me, help me to be a blessing to this land, to this church, to this community, so that we attract more growth that way. That's what James is talking about here. Family, you got to know, like, patience is going to test that grumbling thing in us. So God inspires the prophets and the authors to speak directly to the church with great love and hope and